Exploring Tableau AI, a candid conversation with Tableau Tim.
And so our job will never be done. I don't believe that. If anything, I think AI will create an even bigger appetite for more curators to be part of the story. What will change is what we do. And I think that's where people sort of look at their tasks today and they think, what's going to happen to my job in the future?
Welcome to the Data Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Nisar Ahmed. Join me as we explore the inner data nerd inside all of us. Dive into the world of data alongside special guests who not only share their wealth of experience and knowledge, but also unveil what truly makes them data nerds. This podcast is brought to you by Business Intelligence. That's BIZNIS Intelligence. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Business Intelligence to stay up to date with Tableau training and the Data Nerd podcast. Connect with me on LinkedIn or stream the Data Nerd podcast across all major podcast platforms. Welcome to the Data Nerd podcast. I got a special episode today. Really looking forward to having Tim Ngwena. Am I pronouncing that?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's
Perfect. I think you're better known as Tableau Tim. All right. So Tableau Tim, I'm really excited to have you on, Tim Ngwena. So just a little bit of an introduction before we get started. Tim is the director and creator of TN Media Limited, which manages his professional educational brand, Tableau Tim, and a successful YouTube channel with over 50,000 subscribers and 49,000 monthly viewers. Through engaging content and collaborations with brands like Salesforce and LinkedIn Learning, Tim combines creative storytelling with technical expertise using tools like Fivetran, Snowflake, and Tableau Cloud to measure and optimize the performance of his media projects. In addition to his creator role, Tim is also a lead analytics consultant at Aimpoint Digital. Have I got everything covered?
Absolutely. I think the subscriber number is a bit dated, but yeah, it's pretty much spot on.
What's the updated number now?
We're close to 200,000.
Oh yeah, that is updated.
I only know that because
You've got to update your LinkedIn profile. That's what it says.
I know, and I could tell exactly where you got it from because I can almost date exactly which profile based on that number. So I'm like, okay,
How
there's
long ago
somewhere I
was
have
that?
not
So you grew from
it was,
you grew from 50 to 200 and how long? How long ago was that?
I'd say a year and a half,
Year
but
and a half.
it happens really quickly because yeah, I think once you just get momentum on YouTube, it happens really quickly. I think actually the most amount of growth you get is that 0 to 50. When you get to 50,
Hmm.
you're on your path to 100 and 200. It's just a matter of time. So really, it's that 50,000 is to me the one that really sort of I noticed like, hey, wow,
You
momentum's
noticed,
really
yeah.
picking up. Yeah.
So I have watched your videos and actually like a little bit of a personal tie in here, right? So I also started a YouTube channel, training Tableau, just a year ago, and now I have this
Right.
podcast as well. So I kind of do both.
Yeah.
And what got me thinking about it were your YouTube videos. I would watch them and I'm like, this is great. Little did I realize, you're talking about 50,000 and I know that's a great milestone. I'm not even a fraction of a way there. I hope to one day get to that point. So
Uh,
that's my goal. But um what I have to say though is like it's just been a year since I started and I know I think the main part or the biggest thing is keeping consistent with it, right? I think in
yeah.
the beginning there's a lot of
Yeah.
roadblocks, especially when you may not see the growth as you expect to see it, but if you stick with it,
Correct.
I think it'll come. Is that kind of how you started as well?
Absolutely. In my first year, I only had 1,000 subscribers, right? And then in my second year, we kind of got to like 20 or so. And I was like, oh, this is really good. At that point, I was made. I was happy. I was like, this is Tableau. This is not like, Mr. Beast or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was happy just to get 20,000. And then I noticed something really important happens on YouTube. What you said about consistency matters.
Mm.
And the thing about that consistency is the compound value of the early videos you made, because every new subscriber, as time goes on, now has a bigger library of content to watch.
Mm.
So if you discover my channel today, you have 500 videos to watch. If you discover someone who started a year ago, like yourself, you have less to watch. And so the compound value of all the content you've been making through consistency is what really amplifies your reach. When someone finds you today, they can spend an hour watching your content and really enjoy it. And then
Yeah,
they share the word, it has a bigger effect on them, it helps them more, and then sort of the cycle repeats. So consistency is absolutely key. Yeah.
of course. And how long ago was that you started?
So I am coming up to 6 years. I started my channel. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
6 years.
Yeah.
Actually, we have passed 6 years. I just completely forgot about it. I'm looking at the date now and I'm like, okay, it was 6 years. So I started this in 2019. Now, I had two false starts as well. So I consider starting my channel officially 6 years ago. That's when I decided I'm going to do this properly. But
Yeah.
I'd actually uploaded videos before then, and I wasn't intending to make a channel out of it. I was just looking for somewhere to dump some videos about Tableau 10
Mm,
and some other videos about Tableau layout containers, and I just left them there for years,
mm,
didn't do anything. But
mhm.
2019 is when I really started, and it was off the back of not being able to take advantage of an opportunity in New York, off the back of some other sort of engagement I was involved with the information lab. And so I said, all right, if I can't do that, I'm going to do this instead. So I started the YouTube channel.
That's great. That's great. Gives me a lot of motivation for myself. I'm hoping 6 years in, another 5 years, I hope to get even just a fraction of the success that you're getting.
And I know channels that have done exactly that. You look at SQL Bell, you look at Data with Barra, like all these channels that have started, you know, maybe 3, 4 years ago. I can kind of give you a channel that sits at different points in that timeline, and many of them will become much, much, much larger than what I've done. So I also hope that people benefit from seeing how I've done it and
Yes.
kind of understanding what the shortcuts are. And I always tell people, look, go take my top 20 videos and just make them again. It's totally fine. Like when you watch a car review,
Mm,
like you watch multiple reviews, right? You don't want
yeah,
one perspective, you want many. And it's the
of
many
course.
perspectives that makes the community great. So if you want a shortcut to, making a channel, just pick the top 50 videos of your top creator, make them again with your taste and your style, and it will happen.
Yeah. But you know what keeps me motivated? So even though I'm making content about Tableau, I don't consider you my competitor.
Exactly.
Like we're part of the same community. Actually, you're a tab. I just so as a result of my Tableau channel and my podcast, I actually became a Tableau ambassador for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so just that in itself is worth the effort that I put in.
Congrats.
You
Exactly.
also are a Tableau visionary,
Yeah.
and now we're part of the same. I don't know. Would you call it
Community.
fraternity? Fraternity,
Yeah, yeah, community, whatever you call it.
community,
We're
fraternity
English, so we tend
group.
to say community, but yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, absolutely.
and as a result, I get to reach out to people like you. That's how I got you on here, actually, right? On
Yeah,
on a
exactly.
Slack channel as
Exactly.
part of that community.
Yeah.
So that makes it worth it. And I think we all kind of work together. Like we support each other.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the same ship, surfing the same, what is it? Wind. What do you
Mm.
call the wind in sailing terms? I don't know what it's called, but yeah, we're all on the same sea, going in the same way, and it's nice to be able to feed off each other's sort of energy. I think is the most important thing. When you have a lot of people sort of pushing themselves to grow, but then sharing what they've learned along the way, it acts as a real boost for everyone. You can learn off people, you can bounce ideas off people, and people are really open. So you can just reach out to people, and they do respond, and they do actually help you out.
Yeah.
And people do their best to sort of contribute as well. So really
No,
valuable.
of course, of course. Um, so that's a, a long-winded introduction, but I think it really summarizes, kind of like what you do and kind of like the impact you've had on people
Amazing.
like
Thank you.
myself as well. So really appreciative of that. Um, but I would like to ask you, this being the Data Nerd podcast, I
Yeah.
do ask all my guests if you're a data nerd, and I think I know the answer to that. But
Yeah.
if so, tell me a time when you realized you were one.
So this goes back to a movement called quantified self. It's not really a thing anymore. I think everyone is a quantified self user now. And quantified self was just this initial wave of fitness trackers, Fitbits, and the
Hmm.
data that came from them. So the early Fitbits, you tracked steps, heart rate, that basic stuff. And I was really passionate about taking that data and trying to understand it in a different way. And I kind of got bored with fitness data because, apps like Strava did it pretty well. So I went to a place where I didn't think it was being done well, which was music. And I made a visualization using Last.fm data. Last.fm is essentially a service that tracks your music listening.
Hmm.
So I have about 15 years of music listening history through that service. And the data behind it was acquired by Spotify. And so now Spotify run their algorithms off the data that Last.fm uses or creates and collects. And so yeah, I've used that data to tell a story about my music listening habits. And so every so often I'll see a new sort of service. I'll see what data points they collect. At the moment, it's Whoop. I love the data that they collect around personal well-being. So I'm sort of in my head. I have this running project with data, which is about me trying to understand myself better through data. Whether it's something simple like your
Hmm.
fitness and health, all the way to complex things like mood and what correlations you can get from your behavior at work and how that relates to your fitness and stuff like that. And Weeb has a good way of tracking that. So yeah,
It-
that's when it started.
yeah. And I think a lot of people get into data by through a hobby as well,
Correct. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever
Absolutely.
they enjoy doing, whether it's like you're talking about fitness, but the people could be like movies
Yeah.
or TV or
Yeah.
sports or whatever it is. Data is available out there for almost anything. And then when they start working with something that they enjoy as a hobby and they love, and they start like creating visuals or like, putting stuff out on like Tableau Public, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what kind of gets them into or the industry and start working
Correct.
with data.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of, and the thing is, the reason that works so well with the hobby is because you know the data fairly well. You know, just through intuition of knowing the hobby pretty well when
Mm,
something looks wrong and when something looks right. The problem with business data is it's often hard to know that unless you understand the business very well. But if you're starting out with data, you're unlikely to be looking at the kind of data where you would know the business well. So, personal data, hobbies, sports, stuff like that, stuff that you can look at and see that doesn't look right, this isn't telling the story I need, really accelerates your understanding. And that's, I think, why that connection you've made, happens for a lot of people.
yeah, no, of course, of course. So great. No, thank you for sharing that story. So what I wanted to talk to you about is, now with, AI is kind of the hot topic right now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
AI, artificial intelligence. You're seeing that everywhere. And Tableau's no exception to that.
correct. Yeah,
Okay. I was just at the Salesforce World Tour in New York City a
yeah,
few weeks ago,
hmm,
and even though it wasn't an entirely Tableau related event, it's
yeah,
Salesforce and Tableau is part of Salesforce. There was obviously talk about what they call Agent Force. Okay.
correct. Yeah,
And Tableau has its own version called Tableau Agent, which I know has gone through a lot of name changes, right? And I know you've talked about this as well on one of your YouTube channels. I think it was
yeah,
started off as Einstein for Tableau, and then
yeah, yeah,
Copilot, and now Tableau Agent.
yeah.
I think all within a year, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Tableau Einstein as well. And there's a lot of recurring brand names as well that kind of turn up, and I think that's going to continue to happen. Weirdly, I think well, we're going to see Tableau Einstein next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if some component of that has changed again. It feels like part of Salesforce's DNA to, I guess, beta test names until something sticks. That sort of tends to be the approach, and I don't mean that in a sort of negative way. I just
Yeah.
mean that if they find that something doesn't connect with the brand, they change it. They're not afraid to change it. But the problem that creates
Well,
is that when people are trying to follow a brand, it can sometimes feel a
yes.
bit like fragmented. So yeah,
Change is not always a bad thing, right? You're
yeah,
changing because you want to keep up with what's current, right? And I think that's
correct.
good. And I think that's what we're seeing from Tableau when it comes to AI, right? They're trying to really be uh, fast to with adoption
Yeah,
in AI, right? And you're seeing that with Tableau Agent, Tableau Pulse. Um, really, but it's more focused mostly on the cloud. Actually, all on the
Yeah.
cloud. I don't think it's offered on desktop or server. Um, it's all cloud based, and I think that's also what they're trying to push towards, right?
It's a really interesting question because I think I think Salesforce and by extension Tableau would like you to think that it can't be delivered or unless it's on the cloud. Now, in reality, AI itself is a rebranding of a bunch of technologies many years ago, which we called machine learning. So Tableau did have machine learning in Tableau Server. It still has it today. And one of
Yes.
those was around data sources. So understanding which data sources are commonly used. And so machine learning has existed in the product for quite some time. I think it's a conscious decision, an active decision, that it's easier to develop these products faster and better on behalf of everyone if it's centrally managed on the cloud. There are economies of scale of having the AI model run next to your data. The idea being you use Salesforce Cloud to do this. There are economies of scale when they can build it centrally and monitor it and manage it and scale it on behalf of everyone. And I think that's what they really, you know, sort of seek to optimize for, but they only really ever communicate the fact that it's cloud and cloud only. I don't think they take customers through that journey to understand the value of cloud versus the value of on-premise. And also just to highlight that actually a lot of what they're talking about, you can have on-premise. There's a lot of talk in the AI community about on-device AI. And so there's no reason why some components of Tableau couldn't have that same capability
Yeah.
on-premise instead of on-device. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think even before we got into Tableau in the cloud or um Tableau agent, there was always this component of artificial intelligence before. If you remember that
Correct.
ask data, that's also an
Correct. Yeah.
AI engine, is it
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think we had explain data, which I think pretty much I can't remember if
Explain
it's
data.
I think
Yeah.
it's ask data. The ask data just completely disappeared
Yeah.
when AI turned up. I think they just said, right, this is out. This is the old way of thinking. We're going to try it again. And obviously
Mm.
we've got now Tableau Einstein, soon to be Tableau powered by Agent Force. Um, and it's an interesting one. I think there's so many little tangents we could go down in terms of discussion, but I think at a high level, like your observation is absolutely correct. It's important to really call out that this is a Salesforce strategy that has implication on Tableau, the product. I think in the community we get too carried away by thinking Tableau is still a separate company. I think Tableau, the company, stopped being that company many years ago, and we kind of
Yeah.
missed that boat. It's now a Salesforce strategy, of which Tableau is a Salesforce company. If you go on the Tableau website today, it says exactly that. So that's how we have to think of it. Um,
Well, you started using Tableau before the Salesforce acquisition, right?
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see differences before and after? And what kind of differences are good or bad?
Lots of differences. First of all, I think the executive team has completely changed over. All right. So that means an entirely different leadership structure for the organization. The things that I've noticed the most are we're seeing a faster turnaround of features. I think if we look at the last two releases, so many of those ideas have come from the community. And so what that means is Salesforce, the company, has gone to the ideas page and looked at what's on the cutting room floor and decided, why aren't these in the product? And they're getting them through. And that's sometimes hard to agree with if you are a server customer, if you're a desktop user, because sometimes those features don't trickle through to the things that you're passionate about. But
Hmm.
if you look at the totality of the features, it is very fair to say that a decent percentage of the features that are coming through, especially in 24, have been things that we've been asking for years. And they are not small things. They are very, very big deals in many ways. Viz extensions, the ability to create custom chart types and put them in the product. I think everyone's been asking for that. We might not agree with how they've done it, but they've done it. And I think that deserves a
Yeah.
little bit of credit. And there's so many other areas, the data model getting even more capability. That's going to be a really exciting thing this year and next year. On the flip side, unfortunately, Tableau is part of a very large company that has to really, surf big waves. It can't it can't take
Yeah.
the tangents that Tableau as a small company may be used to. And so every so often you do have to surf in the wrong direction to go with the way the mothership is going. And so, Tableau as a product has to navigate those challenges. And I think that the real challenge, if I was sort of speaking to the Tableau executive within Salesforce, is how do they keep their identity as Tableau
Mhm.
within a broader company, Salesforce? And I think we have a bit of that friction showing in the Agent Force branding from Salesforce being applied to Tableau in this form of Tableau Agent. We can go into that a little bit, but that's sort of a good example of something that I see as bad, and also some examples of something that I've seen that are good.
Well, I, I I see why they're doing it though, because like you said, Salesforce is such a huge organization, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Um, the ability for them to then leverage Tableau and maybe have Tableau tap into that huge customer base of
Correct.
Salesforce, that
Yeah.
in itself opens up so many doors for them,
Correct.
that customer base, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
an
Absolutely.
advantage. That's the
Yeah.
advantage of being acquired by Salesforce. And why not
Yeah.
take advantage of that? Like, and I see the flip side. You're talking about the Tableau community, maybe thinking that Tableau is like overlooked now, uh, we're the stepchild of Salesforce, something like that. The focus not on us. Okay, fine, maybe, but like, I think the benefits greatly outweigh those concerns.
I agree. I agree. And when I say there are some downsides, I don't mean that in like a way to say that they're all bad. I think the thing where I see that friction really sort of come to the surface, if we focus in on Tableau Agent as an example, I think the concept of an agent absolutely makes sense in the Salesforce ecosystem. But when I think about the bits of Tableau where I've enjoyed the use of AI, it's actually not in an agent-like setup. It's more in an assistive setup. And so what you have to do with AI, and maybe we'll get into this, is if you
Yeah.
take a step back, the first thing you have to do is have a stance on what you believe AI is going to do to your product, right? Once you have that stance, you can then apply that perspective to a whole range of different areas in your product. What I think it feels like to me is that Salesforce does have a stance, and that stance is absolutely correct when you look at the Salesforce ecosystem as a whole. But when you adopt that philosophy within Tableau, it doesn't quite fit. I don't quite see the role of an agent in today's Tableau as a creator.
Mm.
I see it more as a co-pilot that is formally named as that. I see it more of an assistive tool to help me get my analysis done faster. An agent in the Tableau sense is an entirely different thing. I don't think we've had anything in Tableau that's like an agent. Tableau Pulse is maybe the closest we've got to that, but even that isn't using AI to surface insights. Tableau make a clear point of saying that because of the issues around AI getting information incorrect. So
Yeah.
I
I
think that that's sort of where that friction really comes to play when you have a capability that's sort of pushed from the top down, but then it doesn't feel like an agent when you have it in Tableau. It doesn't deliver on that
so
promise.
So I think we're coming from a perspective. You and I are more, we're developers,
Yep.
and we're comfortable using Tableau. We don't need assistance
Yeah, yeah.
to start creating our charts. We don't need to
Correct.
ask
Yeah.
an agent how to do it. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong. I personally I have not played around with Tableau Agent enough up to this point, but
Mhm.
I feel like the it's catering towards the new users who don't
Yeah.
know how to do things or create things and really to get them started and have a lower barrier to entry. And you
Correct.
can just ask that the agent, um, you know, create a chart that shows sales over time, over a course of 12 months, and it'll
Yeah.
create it for you. Is that,
Yeah.
do you feel that's kind of where agent is or it's kind of their area of focus?
I kind of think what you've described there as a co-pilot. Help me do something, empower
Mm.
me to do something else. An agent goes a step beyond, as Salesforce showcase it. An agent then looks at that chart, does the analysis, and tells you an outcome. We're not quite there yet, right?
Mm.
It's very much sort of prompt, like, what's the next step, Tim? Type it. Okay, here you go. And it stops there, right? Like it doesn't do everything else. Now, what they show in Tableau Einstein, I think, has the potential to be that. Now, additionally, to your point, if you're looking at the user profile you've just talked about, the places you find Tableau Agent today, I don't think any of those users go to. So the two places you can find Tableau Agent in Tableau Prep inside of the calculation window,
Yeah.
only in Tableau Cloud, only in the browser, right?
Hmm.
If I'm a data analyst learning Tableau today, I'm on Data Camp downloading Tableau Public. Tableau Agent isn't there, right?
Right.
If I'm a data analyst on Udemy with Tableau Public, Tableau Agent isn't there, right? If I'm in an organization and I've been given a Tableau desktop license, Tableau agent isn't there. So I see that vision, I see that story, but
Mm.
just based on the people who watch my channel and the people I teach, I just don't see them going into Tableau Cloud number one, having Tableau Plus to enable that license for Tableau agent. Then number two, starting all of their work inside of the browser only experience. Those are three pretty big hurdles, and that's why I mean sort of that agent brand is an interesting promise, but the way it's packaged doesn't quite deliver on that. And so I think taking a step back and really sort of evaluating that whole picture, I think will help that brand better connect with people and breaking it into its constituent parts would work really well. I really love it in Tableau Prep, the agent, because it helps you with calculations. It can do things that you can't immediately think up. It's really powerful. It's such a great tool there. But in the web edit experience where you're building charts, it's too broad. It's trying to do too much. It's trying to tell you which chart to build, what analysis to do, and it doesn't get it
Could-
right all the
You could
time.
ask
And
for
that sort of pulls the problem.
calculations. You could ask for calculations on the web edit as well, can you not?
You can only ask for questions in web edit. You can't ask for it in desktop at all.
So you can't ask it like build me an LOD calculation
Not in desktop on your laptop, no. Only in web edit.
on web edit. Yes, on the cloud.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
On the
but-
cloud in web edit only.
yes, yes, yes. Correct, correct.
Yeah.
But when you were saying you were comparing prep to web edit.
hmm So Tableau Prep and Tableau, let's call it, it's sort of where terminology is annoying with Tableau. So you have Tableau Prep, that's
Hmm.
both on your laptop and in web edit. Then you
Yes.
have Tableau Desktop, let's call that web authoring. So you have Tableau Desktop and you have Tableau web authoring. Okay. With both of those experiences, anything on your laptop does not have access to Tableau Agent.
Right.
Anything running in the cloud does. And so, yes, in Tableau Prep in the cloud and Tableau Prep in Tableau
Web
Desktop, which
authoring.
is called web authoring
Yes.
in the cloud, you do have access to agent. But what I'm
Mm.
saying is, how many people start their build experience in web authoring? I think that is a small amount, especially if the majority of the ways you learn, including the Tableau exams themselves, are all about desktop.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Do you find I'm looking back at like when I started in my Tableau journey. I'm self-taught mostly. I would just ask questions and I would find the answers on a lot of these community Tableau
Yeah,
community forums, right?
yeah, yeah.
Do you feel like now the need to do that is less because of the Tableau agent? You could just ask Tableau agent how to do it.
So what is interesting is I think the need is more. And here's why. I
Okay.
think when you have this, let's say, commoditized knowledge through AI, when everything is just an answer, what you lack is what comes with a good answer, which is context. And so if you go into ChatGPT and you ask it, write me an LOD to do this, it will only write you an LOD to do that. In contrast, if you go search on YouTube, how to write LODs, you're going to
Mm.
learn a much broader range of understanding, right? You'll go find a blog from the Kens, or you'll go find a great video by Sequel Bell, and in those pieces of content, you have serendipitous discovery of so many other concepts that build on your understanding of LODs. The problem is if you just go and ask the question, write me this LOD, all you get is that very narrow answer. And so I think, yes, people might feel like they're getting help, they're getting things done, but eventually there will be this desire for a better understanding. This is why I think content creators have a very big following because people want to learn from people. They want to learn all the
Mm.
other things around that topic and they like the style and the way it's delivered. So yes, I think people will have that sort of very commodity based sort of access to stuff. And I think maybe those are the experienced users, people like you and me, who know the topic,
Yeah.
don't need help. We just want the answer right now, want
Yes.
something to do it faster. But for everyone else who's gonna benefit from content, I think they'll still be looking for the content. They'll just be finding it in different ways, including potentially having that being pulled through into the product through AI.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, all these services are now starting to reference those pieces of content. So I think if anything, we're going to see an increase in desire for sort of human-centric content, as well as the answers that have been sort of synthesized by AI.
So are you telling me that AI is not going to replace any of our jobs?
No, I fundamentally don't believe that. And here's the thing, like this is where having a stance is really important because I always have this perspective that there is the data industry has always been moving. And if you look at where things are today, I think there's been this journey towards sort of a different area of work, and all Tableau is doing is essentially solving what I would say the previous challenge. The previous challenge was how to build charts, how to do analysis, and how to commoditize that amongst everyday analysts. And the analyst could be a consumer, it could be a creator like you and me. Where I think the data industry is going now, and you can see Tableau starting to talk and move in that direction, is pivoting towards enabling people like you and me to
Mm,
become curators of data. So rather than us building all these little assets, they want us to take a step back, look at the whole landscape, and curate the assets for everyday analysts. So analysts can consume, but we can help curate the content, make it good, make it structured, put semantic models in there so people don't make mistakes.
mm,
And our role is converting to being curators. And if you've ever been to a library, the librarian's work is never done. There are always new pieces of content, there's always new books, there's always new understanding that's yet to come. There's always new challenges as well. And those challenges need answers. And so our job will never be done. I don't believe that. If anything, I think AI will create an even bigger appetite for more curators to be part of the story. What will change is what we do. And I think that's where people sort of look at their tasks today and they think,
mm.
what's going to happen to my job in the future? You won't be doing what you do today. You'll be doing something entirely different. So that's sort of what I think there. Yeah,
And that's, I mean, you look back in time, like that's always been the case with any new technology that's come out.
exactly.
Like when in the I don't know, what was it, early mid 90s, late 90s, whenever the internet came out, people had that same fear. They were
Yeah,
like, is this going to
exactly.
take
Yeah,
over jobs? And you don't see less jobs out there. There's just different types of jobs,
correct.
right?
Correct.
And so I feel like that's kind of this a similar story here. It's not that's not going to replace our jobs. It's just a tool that we can utilize
It's a new tool. Exactly. Yeah.
to
And
assist us and make us better at our jobs, actually.
correct. I do think there does need to be some thought about that transition. I'm not here to say that that transition won't be will be great for everyone. It absolutely won't. If you're let's say an analyst new to the industry, um there is a world where potentially AI is making it easier and easier for companies to delegate less to young professionals, as an example, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of that work sometimes can be very easily automated. And so what we have to do is we have to pay attention to that transition. And I think when we look at data, it's really important to understand what makes Tableau great. It's the community. Why is there a community? Because data itself is an inherently community activity. When we're in organizations consuming data, it's a community-led activity. It's just in the context of your organization. And so if we don't foster that community by looking at young professionals and bringing them into that discussion in new ways, we're going to have a problem in the future when we need new creators to take on that challenge. And so that, as a content creator, I love that challenge. As a consultant, I love that challenge. And I think that's a really important thing to pay attention to. I'm not here to sort of close my eyes and ignore a problem that will come up. So yeah,
And I don't feel like Tableau is ignoring that. I think Tableau is
correct.
like when you look at the like they so I'm an educator as well. Like I teach
Yeah.
Tableau as part of college certification programs,
Yeah.
and Tableau really helps with providing licenses,
Correct.
learning
Exactly.
material, Tableau e-learning,
Yeah.
to really help facilitate or get students um, into Tableau, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even with what do you call it, Iron Viz, there's a student
Yeah.
version of the
Student
internet,
take, yeah, 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 yeah.
right? So I think that those are all, you know, good
All great
good things,
initiatives.
all great
Absolutely.
initiatives.
And we have to keep them. And those are the things that, foster a new generation. And I still see people starting their Tableau journeys every single day. They're in the comments asking questions, they're discovering videos for the first time, they're reading Ken's blog for the first time, they're turning up to DataFam Europe. New people every single day are discovering data, and some of those people are discovering Tableau. And I think that's a great thing that we have in the community. I'm sure all tools have this, but I don't know. I think it's special within Tableau. I'm
Yeah,
biased there. I'm
yeah.
biased.
Well, no, yeah, we do. I mean, we're both part of the Tableau ambassador slash visionary community,
Yeah,
so we do have
absolutely.
a bit of a bias.
Absolutely.
But again, why do we have that bias? Because
We feel it.
it's helped us. It's helped
Yeah,
us in our careers,
exactly.
right? It's a
Exactly.
tool that we found beneficial, and we still f feel very strongly towards what it has to offer.
Correct. Exactly. And yeah, we're giving back in many ways, but at the same time, I think there's always something interesting about teaching, which is it gives you the ultimate knowledge and understanding of that topic. Like when you have to teach something to someone, you do understand it to a much better depth than if you were maybe just learning it for yourself. And so, in a selfish way, it's also doing
Oh,
that.
I couldn't agree more. I probably learn more from teaching than anything
Yeah,
else because
exactly.
you have to like, to be honest, when I started teaching Tableau, not on my YouTube channel, I started teaching, I don't know if you've heard of General Assembly.
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Yeah, so they have a
yeah,
data analytics course, and that's where I started teaching Tableau. And I was still very early on in my Tableau journey, like in year one.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I didn't know if I can teach it. I was like, I don't know if I have enough knowledge to teach it.
You do.
But
You
what I did was like I just learned it as I was teaching. As long as you know more than the students, I
Student in
think you
front of
have
you.
something to offer.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what you just said there is entirely true with my YouTube channel. I just know a bit more than people watching the video. There's the bare minimum of how much further ahead I
How,
am. I think it's funny when people
yeah.
think that I know the product inside out. I just know a little bit more. That's it.
How do you keep up with the latest and greatest? And how do you keep your knowledge fresh?
I have an advantage because I started with Tableau version 7. So the incremental effort to keep in touch with the product,
Hmm.
4 times a year, 24 features per update. It's pretty easy. You can kind of flick through it. And then I make videos about them. So naturally I go through that content a bit more. So do that for 6 years and you just keep in touch with the product just naturally just by doing that. There's a phrase that says it's easy to overestimate how much you can achieve in a short amount of time, but it's very easy to underestimate how much you can achieve in a long amount of time. So
Hmm.
if you sit here and say, I'm going to learn Tableau in the next month, yeah, unlikely, right? But a lot of people think it's possible and they set out to do that. And then they
Hmm.
realize the more they learn, the less they know. But how much could you learn over 6 years? Well, I think you could be a tablet visionary. You could be an ambassador very easily, very quickly. You just have to keep at it. Consistency is the key to go back to what you started with. So yeah,
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Um, I even see so you haven't been to Tableau conference, have you? In the
not
United
in
States?
not it. I have been to an American conference, but not
Okay.
since 2019. So not recently.
Okay. But I do know I've seen your YouTube videos where you hear the keynote speakers
Correct. Yeah, I
and
go
the
through them. Yeah.
topics, and then you offer like immediate thoughts on those. And
Yeah.
you come out with YouTube content to say, oh, this is what I think about, what they're
Yeah.
talking about, or what they're releasing, or the new features, right?
Hmm.
So that kind of you know what that does? It kind of puts us um it takes us on this journey with you. Like you're going on
Right.
this journey with your audience,
Exactly. Exactly.
almost live
We're doing it together.
together.
I am very open and transparent that I don't think everything I have an opinion on is correct, but I'm just sharing it and people agree and they disagree. But in the comments, the people who don't agree tell me why. And I learn from that. I take that on and I go, actually, on reflection, that is right. I've had a few times to, put another video up to say, actually, I think this now. I'm about to do the same thing with AI because I've stayed as distant as I can from that topic because I
Mm.
didn't think I had an opinion that I could stand behind, and I'm slowly arriving at a conclusion I think that I'm happy with, and so I will share that before the end of the year, and I'm really excited to see like what people think about that, but then also I wanted to stir up a debate and for people to have contrasting opinions so I can hear from them on that because I think Tableau and Salesforce have a direction on this, and I'd love to hear more of that rather than the marketing that we see. The marketing is sort of the refined veneer where I want to sort of get into underneath that and really understand what they're thinking. So maybe a discussion
You
will prompt that.
you opened up a can of worms right here. You just said that you're gonna re before the end of the year. That's like a few
It's
weeks
like two
away, right?
weeks. Yeah, I've got the script written. I've been through it, mental model in my head. And the
Okay.
reason I have to go through this process is because I'm going to be critical to certain aspects of the approach so far, but I'm also going to celebrate things that I really love. But in order to understand why I feel that way, I think I had to dig deeper into myself and ask, why do I feel uncomfortable with this particular implementation versus this one? I like this, but I don't like that. Why is that? And so I've been sort of going on a journey to understand that outside of Tableau. I've just been sort of just trying to use a bunch of AI tools and understand what is it I love about them and why. And it goes back down to empowerment ultimately. That's going to be sort of the core message of the video. When I feel empowered, I love the tool. When it's doing something for me, I lose that connection with that activity, and therefore I don't love the use of AI. And there is something behind that. And so that's a synopsis. Please watch the video though. I don't
Well, I'd love to get more into this if you could offer some, a little bit of a preview here. That would be great. But no, but in all honesty, I think like we're recording this on what's today's date? December 4th.
December the 4th.
I
Yeah.
probably won't release this video for another week or two.
We
Do you
might be
think
in sync then. I
we
might
might
be
be in
just
sync,
a week
right?
after you. Yeah, yeah. We'll
Okay,
do this video and I'll just be releasing this video in a week. So yeah, look out for it.
that's awesome. No, looking forward to that. Um, so we talked about Tableau Agent. We didn't even get into Tableau Pulse, but just briefly speaking, I know you. So you talked about like the co-pilot and like
Yeah,
how to do things, and I feel like Tableau Pulse is more about explaining what happened.
correct.
Um, more at a high level, maybe more for the executives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is
I
that what
think
it's
more
meant
for
for?
everyone.
For
Yeah, I
everyone?
think Tableau Pulse answers a question, which I can't believe hasn't been answered by Tableau, which is how can I just track a number in Tableau without without putting any effort into it, right? And it just does that. It's by far the easiest way to track a single metric that you care about anywhere in the product. You couldn't build anything in a dashboard that looks as good as that and updates as well as that and is as fast and as fluid as that feature with the option to filter. And so I love Pulse, but
Mhm.
Pulse is two things. It's metrics. We used to have metrics before,
Yeah.
and it's AI as a layer on top of that to give, I guess, language-based sort of summary. But the summary is very refined. There is actually no AI in the analysis. That's what Tableau says in the knowledge base article about it. There is
Mhm.
only AI in the summary of the metric, and so I think that's a really powerful use case. And just being able to say, look, these three metrics matter to me. I'll quickly add a filter to each of them. Boom, they're my three metrics. Put them on my phone, put them in Tableau. Wherever I am, those metrics follow me and I can just track them. End of the day. That's all people have ever wanted. They didn't all want dashboards. They didn't all want these sort of complicated things that we end up building.
Mm.
They just wanted the answers. They want to be able to track them closely. That's it. And Pulse is a perfect execution of that.
It gets you what you need, right? At the end of the day,
Correct.
the reason why we build all of these dashboards is to have action items and answers, right? Like,
Yeah,
what's the
exactly.
takeaway? What's the
Yeah.
takeaway? And I think Pulse does a good job of providing those answers.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I like Pulse. I like Pulse for that reason. It's very good.
Good, good. What else? Did I miss anything from an AI standpoint? Anything
Um,
we didn't cover yet?
no, no. I think Tableau Einstein, the future, like what's coming in next year. This is a very interesting topic. Tableau Einstein seems like a lot of things. If I could describe it very briefly, it feels like an instantiation of Tableau inside of the Salesforce ecosystem. By that I mean embedded within the Salesforce ecosystem, whereas before Tableau Cloud has been sort of outside of the ecosystem. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I think it speaks to a potential future where we have Tableau Einstein, the reimagining of Tableau inside of the Salesforce ecosystem. And what I'm looking forward to is seeing that DNA come to the more agnostic side of Tableau. So Tableau Cloud, in essence,
Mm.
and Tableau Desktop. What can we pull from all of that innovation inside of Tableau Einstein, very closely tied into Salesforce, into the traditional Tableau that we know? Things like layout, things like semantic models. Those are all things that people have been asking for a long, long time. And I want to see those come through. And maybe next year, Tableau pull off a trick where actually it's all one thing. I've been saying to Ravi, I have a podcast with Ravi, and I
Mm.
said to him, Tableau spend a lot of effort naming everything, but we know when you rename something, it's a bit like a teenager who's trying to find their identity, constantly sort of changing, constantly trying to find something,
Mm.
until you realize you're just yourself, right? You're just who you are. And I always wonder why didn't Tableau just stop calling all these things Tableau Prep, Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, Tableau Cloud, Tableau Einstein? Just call it Tableau. And just close the argument and
Tab-
said, introducing you to Tableau, one experience for all of your analytics needs. Done.
Hey,
Nothing
that's a
else.
great name, isn't it? Tableau One. Tableau
Not
One.
even Tableau one. No, no, just Tableau. It's just
Tableau.
like just Tableau. Because
Yeah.
that's the thing. In the history of Tableau, it's always been Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, Tableau Cloud, Tableau Ask Data, Tableau Einstein, Tableau Pulse. And if you build this unified experience, you can just have a really great sort of branding campaign around deleting all these other products and just calling it one thing. It's just like the iPhone is just the iPhone, right? Like
Yes.
it hasn't got any other name.
Yeah.
Coke is just Coke. Yes, you might have Coke Zero, Coke is full sugar, all that stuff, but it's just Coca-Cola. That's what you know, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd really love Tableau to stand behind its heritage. 20 years, you're established in the industry. You can just shed all that sort of cruff of having all these different disparate things and just let people know one experience and call it Tableau. And when they come to it, they see everything they've ever seen. Prep, semantic models, cloud, whatever you want, all in one place.
Yeah.
That's how people know it today. When they say Tableau, they just think Tableau desktop. Why? Because that's the primary experience most people have.
Yeah. And usually that's what people start working with, or that's what they start off with, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we're talking about AI and Tableau, but have you played around with other tools and their AI capabilities, and how does that kind of stack up with Tableau?
So I use AI on a daily basis.
Mm.
ChatGPT, Claude, what I've been using more recently. What I find is that those tools are a little bit broader because they're more general purpose. And actually, a lot of the time, I'm asking questions that aren't exclusive to Tableau. And I think that's one of the sort of downsides of the Tableau agent. It's quite got quite a narrow focus. I can't go in there and ask it to, show me or tell me something about, R or Python unrelated to Tableau, right? And so I'd love to see more of that. And I think those tools are slightly better in that now. I'm not using those tools to do computations. I'm not using those tools to do anything. I tend to use AI more to ask questions and discuss approaches and talk about how to do something and what I should do rather than do it for me, if that makes sense. So it's my personal use of AI. Now, outside of that, I think there is a very busy ecosystem of tools that are desperate to enter the analytics space and eat sort of Tableau's lunch from the ground floor up, if that makes sense. So
Mm.
I think of tools like Omni, I think of tools like Hex, I think of tools like Sigma, who have no heritage to worry about, which means they have very little legacy to deal with
Mm.
and stand to be able to create experiences that are very fast, very modern, and very fresh, and actually answer some of the core questions we've all wanted to be answered. And I see Tableau sort of responding to this in two ways. First of all, making its platform more agnostic. So being able to pick and choose what you want from the Tableau ecosystem. Hence all the APIs, hence VisQL data service and all of that. And once we get to that world, I think AI will do a really powerful thing, which is to help us join the dots between all of these systems. And I think that's that's an AI I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen an AI that can go into Tableau, grab that from this data source, and put it into, I don't know, D3 and build me a web page with a really nice graphic, right? That's actually where I think AI is going to be the most help, being able to pull from all these disparate experiences and bring them together in really bespoke ways that we've not been able to do before within an ecosystem.
Yeah. Listen, I'm excited to see what the future holds, and bring up a lot of great points here and a lot of things to look forward to. So um, we'll see. Do you plan on coming to Tableau conference next
I
year?
should do. Yes, that is,
Yeah,
I'm 95% certain I'll be there.
that's great.
I
I'll
say
be there too.
5% because
So
kids and family, but other than that, I'm pretty sure I'll be there. I've made plans already, so should be good.
you could bring your kids and family with you. It'll be a
Gosh, I've
vacation.
got three kids and they're all very young. I'm not sure they'd enjoy
Yeah,
the craziness of
I get it.
conference
I
environment, but maybe on holiday, absolutely.
Yeah. No, no, so I have kids as well, and I tell my wife, like, you could come to Tableau conference with me. The only issue is I'm probably not gonna have time
See,
to see any of you. So you guys are gonna be just on your own outside the conference while I am
exactly,
busy,
exactly.
doing learning and meeting other people and
You do
participating
need the
in
time to
activities.
focus. I have
I
met my
need that
wife
to,
after a conference. I did that in New York in
yes,
2019. So
yes.
that's what I
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
We
yeah.
both got a holiday, but we met
Well,
after.
I hope to meet you in San Diego in person. But
Absolutely.
and I'm looking forward to continue having conversations with you and continue watching your YouTube channel and content and everything that you have to offer to the Tableau community.
I appreciate it. And thanks for having me here. It's good to be a guest on someone else's content as well. I love that. I love being on the other side. So looking forward to see what you make of this video.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim.
Good stuff. Take care.